You don't need a $2,000 computer to create a professional high-quality YouTube video. You don't even need an expensive software, because everything you see in this video was edited on my phone for free using CapCut. So if you're a beginner learning how to edit on your phone, I'll show you every single step of my editing process that will take your raw clips from bland and basic to a fully edited video that actually looks like it belongs on YouTube. And to make it more practical, this entire tutorial will show you how to create a video intro like the one you are watching right now. And if you stick around to the end of this course, I'll reveal my secret export process that gives me clean 4K video quality for free. So let's dive in. The first thing we're going to do is download the CapCut app. But if you already have it on your phone, you can skip forward. Go to App Store or Play Store on your device and type CapCut. Hit the search button and you will see CapCut in the search feedback. Tap on it to view and then tap download to install it on your device. Once it's finished installing, you can tap open to open the app from this window, or you can scroll to find it on your app feed. Tap on it to open and you are welcome to CapCut. These windows will pop up and the first one is asking you to allow notifications. I like to allow notifications, but you can choose not to. Tap agree and continue on the next window to accept the terms of the app. This page is asking what type of content you like to create, but just skip that. Go to the bottom of the next page and tap edit, and now you can start a new project. To do that, tap on new video. A pop-up window will open asking for access to your photo and video library. I like to allow full access because it makes it quick and easy to import footage into CapCut. Now choose the footage you want to edit by tapping on this circle at the top to the left of the footage. You can select multiple clips, but note that they will appear on your editing timeline in the same order you selected them. After selecting your footage, tap Add at the bottom of the page and it will import the footage into your editing timeline. And now this is what the timeline looks like. At the top, you have your playback window where you can see what your footage looks like as you edit. Below that is your editing timeline where you can scroll and make changes to your footage. At the bottom is the settings bar that allows you to make these changes. The first thing you need to do is set the aspect ratio of your video. So tap and hold the settings bar lightly and slide it to the left until you see aspect ratio and then tap on it. If you are editing a long form YouTube video like I am, the correct aspect ratio is 16:9. And if you shot your footage in horizontal mode, it should already be 16:9 by default. But if you want to edit YouTube shorts, choose 9:16. And as you can see, it's now in short or reel format. You can scale it up to fill the screen by tapping the playback window with both thumbs. Pull both away from each other towards the edges of your screen without lifting both thumbs away from the screen. And now it looks great for shorts. But we are editing a long form video, so I'll tap the undo icon and take the footage back to original 16:9. Before we begin editing, if your clips are not ordered properly, simply tap and hold the one you want to edit first and move it to the front like this. And now you're ready to begin editing. The first step to edit your footage is cutting and trimming. But before we begin, there's one important step that will save you stress later on when you are editing the audio. If the volume of your footage is too low, set the proper value now before you begin cutting and trimming, so that you don't have to do it individually for all the clips later on. So tap on your footage, tap volume on the settings bar, and increase the volume till it sounds loud and clear to you. Alright, let's get back to cutting and trimming. So when you are recording your video, there will be spots where you paused or you made a mistake and you had to stop and redo a sentence before you continue. How you correct those spots and make each sentence flow smoothly into the next is by cutting and trimming. So in this footage, I didn't start the video proper until about 2 minutes and 19 seconds. So I'll move the cursor to where I want the video to begin. To do this, tap on the timeline lightly and slide to the point you want to cut without lifting your finger. Tap the clip to make sure it's selected and tap split at the bottom left of the screen, and you have successfully made your first cut. Tap on the beginning clip you don't want and hit delete. Automatically, your editing timeline will readjust to the point of the first cut. There's also a pause between the end of my third sentence and the beginning of the fourth sentence. To get rid of such spaces, move the cursor to the end of the first sentence. Tap the footage to make sure it's selected and then tap split. Now move the cursor to the beginning of the next sentence. You can zoom out the timeline to see properly where you want to make your cut. Just do the same two thumbs pulling apart technique we did earlier. But this time, tap and hold the timeline window with both thumbs and pull away from each other. Position the cursor where you want it and then tap split. You have successfully isolated the bad spot from the rest of the clip. Now tap on it and tap delete and it's gone. After removing pauses and mistakes like this, if you play back the clips and you notice significant delay between the sentences, or maybe it's too fast, you can trim the clip by tapping on the one with the delay. At the beginning of the selected clip, there's a thick border. Tap and drag on it without lifting your finger to bring the sentences closer. You can also do this process in reverse if you want more breathing space between the sentences. This process is called trimming. So I'll go through the rest of the footage and I'll do the same cutting and trimming process to get rid of all mistakes and pauses. How close you make your cuts and your trims depends on the style of editing you are going for. You can make each sentence flow to the next like you would speak naturally, or you can cut the ending of sentences very close if you want to edit for retention. The secret to get it right is to listen to the sentences without necessarily looking at the video. And if it sounds right to you, you are ready to move on to the next editing step, which is color grading. There are two ways to do color grading in CapCut. The first method is to tap on any of the clips in the timeline. Slide the settings bar at the bottom towards the left until you see adjust. Then tap on it. Now you can see all the settings you need to color grade that clip. But after applying the color grade, you can click apply to all and it will effect the color grade for all the clips in the timeline. We'll go through the important settings one after the other. But after color grading this way, there will be inconsistencies in some of the clips later on if you use keyframes. So the best way to apply color grade is to add an adjustment layer to the timeline. To do this, go back to your editing timeline and tap the timeline to make sure no clip is selected. Now click on adjust. The same color grading settings will come up again, but this time they are inside an adjustment layer, which I'll show you later. So let's color grade. The first setting is brightness, and this simply increases or decreases the brightness of the footage. If you shot in low light or underexposed, you can increase the brightness here. I like to move the slider until I get to a value of about 5. This will increase the brightness slightly. The second setting is contrast, and it controls the difference between the bright parts and the dark parts of your video. If you want your video to look sharper and more dramatic, you can increase the contrast slightly. I like to move the slider until I get to a value of about 9. And now the blacks in the footage, like my shirt, looks dark and sharp. The third setting is saturation, and it controls how intense or colorful your video looks. If you increase it, colors become richer and more vibrant. But if you decrease it, the colors fade. I don't overdo this setting. I like to move the slider to around 5 for my talking head videos. The next setting I like to adjust is brilliance. It's like a mix of brightness, contrast, highlights and shadows all in one. When you increase the brilliance, it makes your footage look brighter and more detailed. So here I'll just add a value of about 4 and that's it. The next setting is sharpness. It enhances the edges of your footage so that things stand out more clearly. For example, details like your skin texture and hair becomes clearer when you increase the sharpness. So here I like to move the slider somewhere around 15 to 20. The next setting is highlights. Move the settings bar to the left until you see highlights and then tap on it. These settings controls the brightest part of your video, like your face, reflections and anything close to white. Increasing the highlight makes these areas more brighter and harsh, and your footage can look blown out if you overdo it. I always reduce the highlight because my studio lighting is a cheap panel light. My footage tends to have a yellowish tint, especially in the white and skin tones. Reducing the highlight to a value of about -9 gets rid of this yellowish color a little bit. But there's a better way to correct the skin tones, which I'll show you guys later on. Another advantage of reducing the highlight is that it brings back details in the bright areas, and your footage will look more balanced and professional. The next setting is shadows, and it controls the darkest parts of your video. Increasing the shadows brightens the dark parts and gets you more details if your face is too dark. But reducing it brings depth to the footage and it creates a more dramatic and cinematic look. As you can see, the plant, the lampshade and the black areas now have more natural contrast. Here I like to move the slider to a value of about -14, and that looks good to me. The next setting is the whites, and this is just another opportunity to brighten your footage if you shot in low light. It makes the white areas brighter and more clean. Here I like to increase the value slightly to around 4, again because my lighting isn't as bright as it needs to be. The next setting is the blacks. It's the final way to control the deepest dark tones in your video. Since I just increased the brightness of the footage, the blacks may be looking a little bit washed out. So if you want to make them darker a bit, you can use this setting. Here I like to increase the value to just 1, and this makes the blacks more dramatic and punchy, giving the footage a rich professional feel. The next 2 settings are the most important settings if you want to achieve that clean professional look. The first one is temperature, but we'll leave it for now. So let's tap on hue first. Since my main light is a cheap light and I have this yellowish color in the skin tones, the best way to correct this is to use hue. What it does is to reduce the yellow by introducing red or pink if you increase the slider. But if you reduce hue, skin tones start looking yellowish or green. I like to move the slider to a value of about 9, and this brings the skin tone close to a more natural look. Now let's go back to temperature. This setting gives your footage the mood and the vibe that you want. It's also a way to get the whites in your video close to natural. Increasing the temperature adds warmth to the footage, but too much warmth can make it look too saturated. Decreasing the temperature makes your footage look cooler, but too much of it can make it look too bluish and cold. I like to reduce the temperature because it helps me correct the whites with a bit of cinematic flavor added. If there's one setting I abuse in my color grading, it's this one. I'll use a value of about -28 or thereabout. And as you can see, decreasing the temperature helps to remove that yellowish tint in the whites. The last setting I like to adjust is vignette. This just lightens or darkens the edges of your video frame. If you increase it, the edges get darker while keeping the middle brighter. It helps to focus the attention of viewers on the subject in the middle. What I do more recently is to increase the value just slightly to 1. Once you are done with these settings, tap on the check mark to the right of the screen and voila, you are done color grading your footage. So here's the before and here's the after. It looks more professional than the original footage. But as you can see, there's this pink adjustment layer below your footage. It's carrying the color grade and it's affecting just this portion of the timeline. So to color grade the entire footage, you have to extend this adjustment layer. And you can do that using the same process we used for trimming earlier. So tap on the adjustment layer to select it. Tap and hold the thick borders at the end lightly and drag until you get to the end of the footage before lifting your thumb. And now you have color graded the entire video. The next step in our editing process is to add visual elements, and we will start with text. So at the beginning of my intro, I added these captions manually to grab attention. To do something similar, move the cursor to the position where you want to add the text. Tap on the timeline to make sure no clip is selected. Tap on text and then tap on add text. Tap this box to enter text and then write the word or sentence you want to add. To change the font, double tap any word in the sentence you typed to highlight that word. Then extend the highlight to the entire sentence. Now tap on font and choose any option, and you will see the text style change in your playback window. You can also use the search option to find specific fonts for your text. I like to use corporate text, so I'll search for Montserrat and choose this one. The next thing you want to change is the text size. The way I like to do this, to give my text a more uniform look across my video, is to tap on style. And with the sentence still highlighted, tap on text. Now you can increase or reduce the font size, and you will see how this affects your text in the playback window. Just choose a value that looks okay to you. There's no standard that you have to follow. You can change the color of the font from this same styles panel, and you can also add stroke or glow, background or shadow to your text. I like to add shadow to emphasize the text, so I'll tap on shadow and choose black. You can change the distance or increase the blur to make the shadow less defined around the words. When you have everything the way you want it, tap the pass mark to the right of the screen to accept the text you created. Now you can see the text layer underneath the footage in your timeline. If you are still not okay with the size of the text, you can tap and hold the playback window with your two thumbs and drag in or out to reduce or increase the text size. The text has to be selected already for this to work, and you can use anywhere on the playback window. You can also tap and hold the text with one finger and move it around your screen to position it better. The next thing we're going to do is animate the text. So tap on animation and you'll see several free options. If you tap on any one of them, you'll see how it affects the text in your playback window. You can also use the search option to search for a particular type of animation. So I'll tap on it and search for typing animation. And this one looks good. Now, if you don't want to do any of these effects and animations manually, or you want something a bit more fanciful, you can type the text, resize it and go to animation. Tap on templates and you can use any of the free options you like. And like before, you will also see how it animates in your playback window. With this text, I use a template called TV pop-up, and as you can see, this is how it animates. You can resize the text layer to follow the audio as close as possible without looking too rushed. If you want the next text to have the same effect and animation, just tap the text layer in the editing timeline. Then scroll to the left and tap duplicate, and you will get a copy of that text layer. Move the new one to the position you want it to be, and tap the new text on the screen to enter the text box. Select all the previous text and change it to what you want. Now you can play back the text to see how it animates and make any changes to the size or position. I also used a template called Creative on this text here, and there are many other free options you can use in your videos. And that's how easy it is to create and animate text. So let's move on to the next editing process, which is adding jump cuts and zooms. You don't want your entire video to look static or stay in the same scale or true. So one way to vary things and keep attention is to scale some of the clips. And it's also a great way to hide the spots where you made cuts. So in this spot, I cut out a pause to start a new sentence. I'm going to hide this with a jump cut and at the same time emphasize what I said in the clip. If you don't have a cut where you want to create this effect, go ahead and make a cut at that position. The next thing you need to do is choose where you want the scale to end and make another cut there before you actually do the scale. So to do a jump cut, tap the clip you want to scale to select it. Then tap and hold the clip on the playback window with both thumbs and drag both in opposite directions to the edges of the screen. When you get the desired scale, let go of the screen. One rookie mistake that beginner editors do is to leave the new scale just like this. But you have just shifted the eyes of the subject from the previous position, so now the viewer has to look up, and this is not a very smooth experience for the viewer. The professional thing to do is to move the clip a little bit down like this to get the eyes of the subject close to where they were before. When you play back the clip, the first sentence ends and the next one begins with a new scale, like the subject has moved closer to you. That fast movement is called a jump cut. It's best to do jump cuts at the end or at the beginning of sentences, and you can also use it to emphasize statements in your video. Next, we'll create a slow zoom effect, and this is where I will introduce you guys officially to keyframes. First, move the cursor to the exact position where you want the zoom effect to begin, and if there isn't a cut there already, make a cut. Move the cursor to the position where you want the zoom to end, and if there isn't a cut there already, make one also. Move the cursor to the beginning of the clip, then tap the clip to highlight it. Now tap on the keyframe icon. It's the diamond icon with the plus on top. As you can see, when you tap on it, you've added a keyframe to that position in the clip. Now move the cursor to the end of the clip and add another keyframe. With the cursor still on the last keyframe, increase the scale of the clip like we did earlier when we were creating the jump cut. And now, if you play the clip from the beginning of the effect, what you get is a slow zoom from one end to the other. To add a professional touch and make the effect flow smoothly, move the cursor on top the first keyframe and then tap on the graph icon to the left of the keyframe. These settings control the speed and the movement of the scale. The rule of thumb is, if the subject was already on the screen, and did not just appear from a different scene, use the ease in setting. This effect will make the scale to start slow and then speed up, and the movement of the subject will look smoother. But if the subject is appearing from another scene, you can use the ease out setting. With this setting, the subject will move fast, then slow down smoothly. We are going to explore this some more when we animate objects later on. Before we move on to the next editing step, I want to point out that you can also use keyframes to create the same jump cut effect we did earlier. The keyframes just have to be closer to each other, with the last keyframe scaled up. Like in this part of the intro, I used keyframes to create this effect. The last keyframe is a little bit away from the first, so the zoom isn't as fast as a jump cut. But you can make the keyframes a little bit closer if you want that fast jump cut. So by now, I'm sure you understand that you can use keyframes to animate almost anything. So next, we are going to add B-roll and animate it with keyframes. To add B-roll to your edit, first move the cursor to the exact position where you want the B-roll to come in. Tap on Overlay. This is the feature that allows you to add B-rolls like videos and images to your timeline. When you tap on Overlay, it will take you to your video and photo library. Choose the clip you want to import and tap Add. It will add the clip to your timeline from the position of the cursor. Play the clip and choose where you want it to end, and then make a cut. You can play it back again and make any readjustments needed. When you have it exactly how you want, tap on the clip to select it. Move the cursor to the beginning of the clip and then add a keyframe. Now move the cursor to the end of the clip and add another keyframe. With the cursor still on the last keyframe, increase the scale of the clip. Move the cursor on top the first keyframe and tap the graph icon. And you can choose one of these settings depending on where you started the animation or how you want it to look. Now you can play back the clip and see how it animates. In the next editing step, I'll show you how to animate images and icons, and this is where we go deeper into keyframes and animation. Before we begin, you have to download the images or icons first. You can get them as transparent PNG files from FreePic, Flat Icons or Pixabay. Save them to your photo library and you are ready to start. The first thing you need to do is to add each icon as an overlay to your editing timeline. So move the cursor to the point where you want the icon. Tap on the editing window to make sure nothing is selected, and then tap on Overlay. Tap Add Overlay on the next window and your photo and video library will come up as usual. Select the image you want and then tap on Add. Now you have the image imported into your timeline. First, resize and position the icon exactly where you want it to be. I'm going to do the same process for the other icons. Then I'll add a fade-in animation effect to each icon to make it look even more professional. To do this, tap on the image layer in the timeline and then tap on Animation. Search for Fade-in and tap on it. You can move the slider at the bottom of the effect to set how fast or slow you want the effect to be. When you have it set the way you want, tap on the check mark to accept. As you can see, I'm doing the same thing for the two other icons because I want the animation to be identical. And now the image is transparent initially as it comes into the frame. Now move your cursor to the beginning of the icon layer and add a keyframe. Move the cursor slightly ahead of that keyframe and add another keyframe. Place the cursor on top of the first keyframe and then drag the icon out of the frame in the direction from which you want it to appear. Again, I'll do the same step for the other two icons. Now when you play back the clip, the icons animate into the frame like it was done in Premiere Pro. To make it professional, let's set the exact movement we want. Move the cursor on top of the first keyframe. Tap on the graph icon and choose Ease Out. Again, I'll do the same step for the other two icons. And now it will play back like this. I've done a similar process in this part of the intro also. After adding and animating the text, I imported the CapCut icon and positioned it above the E. And after that, I used keyframes to animate it so that it comes in from outside the top of the frame like this. Alright, let's say you want to animate an image without bringing it in from outside the frame, like this one with the zoom effect. First, import the image into your timeline. Resize it and position it exactly where you want it to be. Move the cursor to the beginning of the clip and then add a keyframe. Move the cursor to the position where you want the effect to end and then add another keyframe. With the cursor still on the last keyframe, scale the clip up. Move the cursor to the first keyframe and tap on the graph icon. Now select Ease Out. And as you can see, that's how I got this computer image to animate in like this. Before we go to the next step, if you don't want to animate images manually like this, or you want something more fancy, if you select the image layer and then tap on animations, you will see a collection of both free and paid templates that you can use. And the slider at the bottom allows you to control the speed of the animation. And now it will play back like this. Alright, the next thing I'll teach you how to do is how to use stickers. Stickers are a great way to illustrate anything in your video without doing a lot of animation. So in this spot, I wanted to create a perception that you don't need expensive computer or softwares, and I'm cancelling out the images with stickers here. To do this, move the cursor to the spot where you want the effect. Tap the editing timeline to make sure nothing is selected, and then tap on stickers. You will see a collection of both free and paid stickers. You can go through them and use any one you like, but you can also search for different types of sticker effects if you use search. So here, I'll go to the search bar and type cancel. I'll hit search and here are some options I can use. When you choose the one you like, it will add it automatically to your playback window. Click cancel to go back and then tap on accept. Now you can see the sticker layer in your editing timeline. You can tap on it, resize it and position it in the video exactly where you want it to be. Play back the clip and make any other adjustment needed. A fun thing to do is to add animation to stickers. If you select the stickers and tap on animations, you will see a collection of effects that you can use. I always like to use fading animation for stickers. And this is how everything plays back. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to create transitions. CapCut has templates that makes it easy to use transitions. First, move your cursor to the area between the two clips where you want the transition. Tap the editing timeline to make sure nothing is selected. Now tap the transition icon between the two clips. This will open up a collection of both free and paid transition templates. You can select the one you like and the preview of the transition effect will show temporarily on the playback window. Here I want to use a flash transition specifically, so I'll tap the search icon and tap on white flash. You can also type this out yourself. From the options available, I'm going to choose hot flash because it looks kind of similar to an old camera flash. You can adjust the speed with the slider at the bottom. When you have it set the way you like, tap the check mark to accept it. And now this is how it plays back. To make it a bit more interesting, I have added this particle overlay that you can see. You can get similar ones from Pixabay or other copyright-free platforms. The first thing to do is to add the particle overlay to your timeline. Trim the clip to the exact size that you want, then position it where you want it to be. Tap the clip to highlight it, and then tap Splice on the settings bar. For particle overlays like this, you can use the overlay option or you can choose darken. The slider at the bottom helps you control the transparency or opacity. When you have this set the way you like, tap the check mark to accept it. With the clip still highlighted, slide the settings bar all the way to the right. Tap on layers and you can move the overlay in front of any other ones. This is the same process I used here and here also. The next editing step in my workflow is audio editing. When you play back the intro of this video, you can hear background music and sound effects emphasizing the storyline. So it's both a visual and audio experience. But before adding background music and sound effects, I edit my vocals to remove noise and make it sound podcast quality. If you want to see how I do this process on my phone for free, just write audio in the comments. Alright, let's begin. First, we are going to add sound effects. Move the cursor to the position where you want the sound effect. Tap on audio and then tap on sound effects. You will see a collection of both free and paid sound effects. You can tap on any one of them to hear a preview. I like to use the search tab to look for particular sound effects. So here I'll search for typing sound effect. When you hear the sound you want, just tap on the plus icon to add it to your timeline. You can adjust the volume of this sound effects if you tap volume and use the slider. If you want to use specific sound effects that you've downloaded on your phone, tap audio and then tap on sounds. Tap on the folder icon, device, and then choose select from device. Now locate the effect on your device and you can add it to your timeline. So I'll go through and place all the sound effects. I can't show all of them because this video is already too long, but it's usually a combination of typing, risers, whooshes, and hits. If there's any one of these sound effects that you are particularly interested in, just state the timestamp and write sound effects in the comments and I will respond. To import background music to the timeline, move the cursor to the beginning of the video or where you want the music to come in. Tap the timeline to make sure nothing is selected and then tap on audio. Now tap on sounds and you'll see a collection of trending background sounds. You can use any one of these, but it's best to download copyright-free background sounds from YouTube library if you are uploading to YouTube. Tap on the folder icon and then tap on device. Tap on select device and locate the background sound you downloaded. Choose the sound and it will be added to this window here. Now tap on the plus icon to add it to your timeline. You can also adjust the volume of this sound if you tap the clip and tap on volume. Play back the video and adjust the volume of the background music so that it's not competing with your voice. When you are okay with it, tap OK. You can also use the fade setting to fade the beginning of the sound or to fade out the music at the end of the video. These are minor details, but they give your video a professional sound. Alright, now we are done with editing. Let's get to my secret export setting for 4K video quality. Before we export, delete the CapCut logo outro at the end of the video and resize everything else to fit. And if you haven't removed the logo on the video yet, tap on it and set it to hidden. If you are using the CapCut free plan like me, you normally can't export in 4K, but I'll show you my workaround. First, tap on the UHD export option at the top of your screen. Set the resolution to 1080p. Set the frame rate depending on how you shot your footage. I use 25 FPS, so I'll set the frame rate to 25. Now set the bitrate to 100, and this will give you the highest 1080p quality possible. The file size will be very large, but this isn't our final export version. So for now, tap on export and wait till the video is exported from CapCut. When it's complete, you'll see the video in your gallery. Next, we are going to upscale the video from 1080p to a 4K video quality. There are several AI options that you can use to do this, but I use the Premiere Pro app on my phone for free. So go to App Store or Play Store and install Premiere Pro on your phone. When you're done, open it. Tap the plus icon at the bottom to open a new project. Select your video from your video library and then tap Next. Now tap on Export and tap on Export Settings at the bottom. Set the resolution to 4K, frame rate to 25, and the quality to high or medium. You can see the size at the bottom, so go for whatever works for you. Go back to the export window and tap Export. Wait until the video is exported from Premiere Pro, and now the video is 4K quality. If you made it to the end of this tutorial, thanks for watching. I'm sure you learned a lot. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I will do my best to respond to every one of them. And like I said earlier, if you want to see how I remove noise and edit my vocals on my phone for free to make them sound podcast quality, just write audio in the comments and I'll make a tutorial on that. But before you rush off, if you want to know how to shoot professional YouTube videos with just your phone, watch this video next and I'll see you there.